beers in Florida, beware, especially if you enjoy specialty craft beers, because they just might get more expensive. How? Well, there's a proposed law in Florida that's actually sitting in the Senate right now that would make it more expensive to sell their beer to consumers. Well, how? Well, this law would force craft brewers to, guess what, to sell their bottled and canned beer to a distributor, and if they want to sell it in their own tap rooms, they would then have to buy it back at an increased markup, somewhere to 30 to 40%, according to some people, without the cans or bottles ever having to leave the brewery. Now, of course, this rule wouldn't apply to draft beer, so anybody who drinks Budweiser, PBR, whatever, what have you, that would be fine. It would only affect craft beers. Now, Joshua Albertson, a lobbyist for the Florida Brewers Guild, told Reuters, quote, "That looks to me like racketeering." The problem here is that the larger breweries have huge influence in the legislature, and they're setting up rules in order to stifle smaller competition. A good example of this is a ban on the use of a 64-ounce, they call it a growler, which I've never heard, but it's a reusable beer jug. It can be filled straight from the tap and then sold as is, right? There's no ban on the sale of quart or gallon growlers in Florida, because that's kind of weird, because those are perfectly legal in the 47 other states, and of course they're incredibly popular where they are legal. Is this another example of large companies trying to stifle competition in the free market, guys?
Yes, they're always trying to stifle competition in the market. And unfortunately, this is perfectly constitutional, because what they're doing is they're making them pay, and by unconstitutional I mean in our current court system it would be rule constitutional, like it's not actually. But you're basically forcing them to buy a product from a private company, and the shitty thing about this is that it's their own product that they have to buy back. So it's basically a tax, right? It's a mandate that's a tax. I know I've heard that somewhere before, and that's the law that makes this constitutional, and it's totally ridiculous. We have so many barriers to entry for so many like little stupid things in our country, and none of them make any sense. None of them keep us any safer, and they're just meant to, like, this will help the store owners and the larger breweries. And that gallon of beer thing that you can get a reusable jug sounds awesome, and I'm sure that New York is one of the states where it's illegal, because I've never seen it in my life.
I've never heard of those, but it sounds awesome. I would totally want to go get a growler now.
Yeah, this is an example where, like, if you have just such a lack of faith in the American people, which is more and more plausible every day, Sean and libertarians have a great point here, because this is an example of where government gets in the way, because this is something that an industry probably couldn't do to itself. It could effectively, to get like some kind of certification or stamp of approval, they could make this happen, but these breweries could still operate without that. But whenever you bring government into the equation, they can't operate, because the government can come in and say, no, it's illegal for you to do this without doing this. However, what Sean and libertarians don't understand is that an educated populace can then rise up and demand change and affect change and get action from representation. Now, of course, whenever Citizens United and the most recent ruling exists, we can't really do that. Only rich people can, like these big breweries. So it's kind of a silly argument, because it's like, hey, these business people are corrupt, so they're going to buy off the government, so we shouldn't give the government any power. No, maybe we should just work to stop corruption in the government, because that's what we can do in a democracy.
They wouldn't be buying it unless the government claimed this power that they could do it. So I don't think any of these, all kidding about my little Obamacare dig there, all kidding aside, I don't think any of these are legal or constitutional. They are racketeering. It is a monopoly. And it's funny how the government has all these antitrust laws when they are the creators of monopolies. Like, they aid and abet these freaking criminal breweries that are trying to put their competition out of business. And I've never had one of these craft beers or whatever, but like, they should still be allowed to operate.
people don't understand. Like, liberals are not big government for the sake of big government. We're saying whenever it makes sense and you run the government effectively, maybe the government has a role in the economy and other things. And this is an example where the government has totally overstepped its bounds and needs to be stopped. And so, like, that's the answer here. That's what we need to do. And also, just because it's kind of been a theme, I want to keep going, where I find the bright side in idiotic alcohol stories, like the fact that last week the Georgia law gives police a way to enforce safe gun usage. This also shows us that although Florida is always crazy, somebody doesn't always get killed in Florida's craziness. Sometimes they're just crazy and people don't get beer. And so maybe there is some bright side to this.
I mean, a couple points. Like, I think this again speaks to the nature of corporations, and that these large companies such as Budweiser and so on, which isn't a proper beer anyway, in my opinion, but they're making lots of profits. But because they see some competition in the market, and because they are one of the larger corporations within that market, they can use kind of the government as a tool to crush their own competition and just make more profit, because that's what they want to do. They want to make more profit. Now, I think it's also dependent on the culture that you're in as well, because here in the UK we have a lot of independent breweries. One of my friends' families kind of started up their own brewery, making specialist kind of beers and ales and so on. And if the government came up with this policy essentially saying that if you're running your own kind of, it's not a private brewery, but creating your own special ales, you have to pay extra 40%, or we're going to, as you said, it's essentially a tax. We're going to tax you an extra 30% on your costs. It just wouldn't happen, because over here in the UK, in pretty much any pub you walk into, yes, you can get your Stella Artois, your Carlsbergs, and so on, but every single pub will have these speciality brews on tap, and people would just be up in arms. There's no way this sort of legislation would get passed in the UK. But again, back to my first point, it's just the nature of corporations, and it's a case of these larger alcohol firms wanting to crush their competition so they can get every single penny out of that market.
And I definitely agree with you, Stephen.
Well, and the irony in what Stephen's saying is because that's where America's heading. That's why they're stepping up now and doing this. Is because the beer industry in general has had like a 2% decrease in sales in 2013, while craft brews didn't follow that trend, and in fact they had an increase of 18%. So big beer, I hate using that phrase, is kind of starting to struggle. And craft brews are not only not struggling, they're doing very, very well and getting better. And we are heading towards that situation that Stephen described, and these guys see the writing on the wall, and so this is their last gasp at trying to stop it.
The lesson here, instead of buying government, maybe they should make a better beer. Food for thought.
Well, like I said, if the government didn't have this power, they would have to compete, which is a novel concept in today's society, is competing with newcomers. Or they would just make their own. Doesn't Budweiser already make its own like shitty specialty beer that's actually just a Budweiser? Isn't that what Budweiser Select is? Or Budweiser? They have.
We have got to teach Sean about beer in the post.
No, or Budweiser Platinum. I'm saying, aren't they like doing stuff like they're making all these new beers that are fucking exactly the same as a normal Budweiser, in my opinion, but they're calling them like Platinum and making them more fancy.
What I don't understand is why doesn't Budweiser, if they see this competition and they, as Jordan said, these specialty beers, 18% rise in profits and so on, Budweiser's got the money. Why don't they buy out some of these companies? And there's a whole kind of range of arguments for and against whether that's good or bad thing, but that'd be more competition. But if they see that successful, why don't they buy up these companies? Because
that would be violating antitrust laws if they bought up all these craft beer companies.
Yep.
I'm not saying they buy up all of them, but they could at least buy up some and maybe learn something from them. That might help them.
Well, anyway, one point that I want to make, and it's sort of like my final point, is that this makes me think a lot about what happened in Tesla, right? With Tesla, remember they were banned from selling their cars in Texas and New Jersey, and just recently actually allowed to be able to sell in Ohio. So yay, small victory. Now they were, of course, they were told, no, you need to buy off politicians, just the way that us regular automakers have already done. You need to put in your bid if you want to sell your cars. So that really kind of like that, I see that as sort of tying this in, that it's like what they did with Tesla, right? Using the state government in order to, prioritize one business model over another, and to shut down competition in the free market, and that's not right. And so we're all pretty much in agreement that this is pretty shitty and pretty stupid.